Brenda Ditmore and her husband own and operate a carpet store in the city that keeps them pretty busy. But Brenda's had to spend some time lately trying to track down a new dress, a dress she took to the deluxe cleaners to get it ready for her brother's wedding the next day. But Brenda got a surprise when she went to pick it up.
Okay, when I went to pick it up on the day that they told me to, on Wednesday, they said the blouse was on the premises, but the skirt was not, and that it was soiled and needed to be ran through one more time. And so I said, okay, I'll come back tomorrow. And I called the next day because I would have had to leave work early to get there before they closed, and they said it still wasn't there.
Brenda says she was so upset the dress wasn't ready for her brother's wedding that she cried. She said she didn't think the dress was soiled enough. It had to be run through the cleaners again. She didn't recall any serious spills, so her husband went and asked about the dress the day she was to wear it to the wedding.
On the day that I was going to wear it, my husband called them and asked them what happened, and they told him that it was lost. He asked them what they intended to do, and she said, well, we'll come in Saturday and look, but they're closed on Saturday. And when I tried to call on Saturday, I never got an answer. And she had told him on Friday that if they hadn't found it by Monday, then they would have to pay. And when I called her on Monday, she said the owner was the only one who could write a check for it, and that he was in Las Vegas.
Brenda said phone calls every day brought no results. The manager kept saying she couldn't get in touch with the owner. That prompted Brenda to get in touch with the state attorney general's office. They said the cleaner would have to pay. She was told to write Deluxe Cleaners a letter about the missing dress and wait 7 days, then go to the district attorney's office to file complaint.
No, I called them and I said, you know, this must have happened before. Why aren't these people worried about it? And I talked to a guy in Felony. His name was Randy, and he said, to my knowledge, there's no law against this. And he gave me the white collar, referred me to the white collar section of crime, and they said that the only way wrongdoing on the part of the cleaners could be proved was if I could prove that they willfully lost the skirt, you know, like there would be some big plan.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't think that's what happened, but basically they told me that that the only thing I could do was to go to a civil action, to go to small claims court.
Brenda hoped that wouldn't be necessary, so she called In Your Corner. I paid a visit to Deluxe Cleaners, where the manager told me they usually search for lost clothes 3 to 4 weeks. But they told me where I could find the owner, J.R. Bromagen, who said he was not a bad guy, just a busy one, opening up new businesses and caring for the old. However, he said these things happen occasionally. He said they have few lost clothing items reported, but once in a while it happens. He said normally they search 3 to 4 weeks through all their shops and check with customers who picked up clothes on the same day. But since Brenda had already waited 2 weeks and needed her clothes for her job, he would have a check for $70 ready for her as soon as she brought in the receipt for the amount she paid for her dress, and we thank him for his cooperation. Action Force Community Relations Director George Wesley received an invitation to attend a program on a vacation plan. The invitation came from the Leisure Resource Group Incorporated. So In Your Corner went along. We listened from a car through a microphone George was wearing as he and his wife listened to the program. The lure to get customers to come in is a list of prizes. The invitation George received showed prizes ranging from $200 cash to a color television to $1,000 cash. None of the prizes appear to be cheap. We were curious to see if someone would walk out this night with one of those valuable prizes. But in order to get the prize, you must sit through a rather long presentation on time-sharing plans, buying into a resort condominium, condominium that you get to use 1 week a year. 51 others also get it for 1 week a year.
What I'd like to do is show you how tonight you can start taking the nicest resort vacations that are available throughout the world and actually be spending less than what it costs to go Holiday Inn. And I don't mean $50 a night, I mean $50 for 7 days and 7 nights in Vail, Colorado.
You must also sit through a one-on-one sales pitch that George Wesley later described as rather high pressure.
Yeah, it's a culling factor. They after they give you the treatment, you know, all the proselytizing and that sort of thing, they talk to you individually, and they have brochures and photographs of the different places, very skillfully presented. And at a point when it seems that you may not give in, then they call in someone who is able to adjust the price.
The problem with the plan is that they want you to sign up immediately without visiting the condo. The one they were pitching this night was in Padre Island. Others are in Austin, Texas, and other cities not necessarily considered resort areas. However, they offer exchanges where you can trade your week, let's say in Austin, for someone else's week in the Bahamas. I wonder how many people with condos in the Bahamas would want to make that trade.
Well, I certainly wouldn't do it. I can't imagine anybody making that kind of trade.
The price usually amounts to $7,500, but there is also a monthly maintenance fee you pay, even though you only get the condo for 1 week a year, and that maintenance fee can go higher. Did you see anything strange about the situation of paying a monthly maintenance fee when you only get to use it for 1 week out of the year? Plus 51 other people are paying a monthly maintenance fee for their week.
Well, I think that's what bothers me more than anything else, the fact that we're talking about 51 people paying for a place, for a condominium. It certainly must be a luxury condominium, because just on the surface you're talking about better than $250,000 for the unit if they each paid an equitable share. And on top of that, then there's a monthly maintenance fee, in my mind, to help pay for other people's use of the facility.
The Federal Trade Commission says also, if you look into the plan, find out if it is a deeded plan or undeeded. A deeded plan would actually give you a share on the condo, which could mean a return on your investment if the condo were sold. The undeeded plan would give you no return. Now, what about that valuable gift you're to receive for attending the program?
This is what we got as a reward for responding to the mailer that we got. And it seems that everyone else got the same prize. They were in blue bags that they handed the people who left out that night, and the bags were the same size. When we got in, got out, and looked into it, this is what it was.
So it turns out there was a clinker on the gift list. I checked with the Federal Trade Commission, and this is a diamond flake. It is not legally considered a diamond according to federal law, which requires certain dimensions in order to be considered a diamond. One other question many people ask in your corner: how do you get out of a timeshare contract if you were pressured into signing and change your mind? Well, the contracts are legal, but this particular company, Leisure Resource Group Incorporated, did not pay its corporation franchise tax in Oklahoma and lost its corporation status. That would give that company a weaker position in court, and that's just about where you'd have to take them in order to get out of your contract. The story began when some concerned parents called In Your Corner, complaining that some children who attended the Apollo Elementary School in Bethany had to cross a dangerous intersection unattended. The intersection was Northwest 16th and Peniel. There was a school zone marked there, but it had no flashing lights. And parents complained that Northwest 16th was a straight shot between MacArthur and Rockwell, with no stop signs to slow the flow of speeding traffic. With the camera in plain view and later out of sight in an apartment window, we watched traffic, and each time observed traffic speeding through the intersection, including a school bus one time. When school let out, we observed a large group of children wading through traffic on Northwest 16th, some cars turning onto Peniel to go north, others trying to turn off Peniel onto 16th. There were some close calls, and in the winter months, one child had been hit and injured, running in front of a car on an icy spot. Parents said control was needed there, but they said they got no cooperation from the Oklahoma City Transportation Department. I checked with Dennis Kirk of that department. He cited statistics that showed there was enough time between cars for the children to cross. However, he thought perhaps a walkway was needed beside the road. In a meeting with parents and Apollo school officials, it was pointed out that no matter how much time there was between cars, statistically, there was still no control to keep children from darting out in front of traffic or to stop cars while children crossed. Parents wanted a pedestrian-controlled stoplight. The Bethany City Council had already agreed to pay their share of it. Well, the issue went before the Oklahoma City Traffic Commission. Chairman Mark Schwartz, as well as other members, recognized the danger. But instead of a traffic light, they approved a crossing guard. Sandy Chamberlain will help children during school crossing hours 3 times a day. The guard was hired through the special services of the Oklahoma City Police Department and will see that children do not have to haphazardly run across the street to get home. And having a guard there will also encourage traffic to obey speed limits and the rules of the school zone. Now, on another story, several weeks ago, Beverly Turner contacted In Your Corner because she had squirrels in her attic and couldn't get rid of them. Beverly said she thought the squirrels had nested in the attic. She was concerned about possible damage to the insulation and the electrical wiring, not to mention the racket they made in the house.
They sound, we can hear them every morning. They sound real loud, like herd of horses, and I don't know, we just don't know how to get them out.
Beverly said she called numerous exterminators, but no one would take the job. In Your Corner learned squirrels are considered game animals, and it's illegal to exterminate them. We also found a state agency that would help Beverly free of charge. It's called Animal Damage Control. Beverly called Animal Control and made arrangements for them to go out to her house and set the traps. They were set with nuts to lure the squirrels in, and it wasn't long before they caught the first one. But here's the latest.
Well, it was about 2 or 3 days. We first had them set on the roofs of the house, and the wind would blow the pecans out, and so we didn't have any luck. So we brought them in the backyard and set them, and it's about 2 or 3 days we started catching them, and we caught one right after the other for about a week.
Beverly says they've caught about 10 so far. She and her husband released the squirrels in the country, and they boarded up all the holes where the squirrels entered her attic. It appears now that all the squirrels are gone. Now, updating our report on 40-year-old Crystal Watts of Moore. You may recall that Crystal has asthma, which has caused her to have pneumonia over the last few months and spend a lot of time in the hospital. Her mother, Marcia, thought a pet might boost Crystal's morale since she couldn't play outside with the other children. She said a doctor told her a Chihuahua dog has been known to help children with asthma, but Marcia couldn't afford one at the moment with all the bills. Well, we found her one at the Oklahoma City Animal Shelter. However, a pulmonary specialist saw the report and informed Marcia there was no truth to the old wives' tale that Chihuahuas helped asthma patients, that all animal hair contained a substance that could affect Crystal's asthma. Well, I found another home for the dog and sought some help from the business community. Al Lessig, the manager of the Moore TG&Y store, donated the perfect solution for Crystal's pet problem: fish. Lessig donated the whole works, a deluxe aquarium and a goldfish or two, plus a baby frog. Perhaps the only pets that won't harm Crystal's asthma or her allergies. Well, Crystal can't take them for a walk, but at least she's got a pet she can call her own. This is a new lawn? It sure doesn't look like it. Donna Green and her husband paid $340 to W.G. Gray's new lawn service to have plugs of Arizona Bermuda grass planted in their lawn last August. Well, it grew a little last summer before winter came, but this spring, no luck. Only one small spot is showing. The rest is either weeds or a little grass from some seed the Greens threw out there themselves this year. But walk into the backyard and it looks like the Dust Bowl, just a few dead plugs of grass. And thanks to the spring rains, much of the soil now is washing under the fence into neighboring yards where the grass is growing. Donna's contract says the grass plugs were guaranteed to grow for 1 full year.
Well, they planted it, and we were supposed to have grass come up within 6 to 8 weeks. It did come up green, but now spring's come, we fertilized it, watered it. We have no grass except for just a few tiny plugs that have come in, and it is guaranteed to grow 1 full year from planting time.
Well, I'm sure the man who put this in here was anxious to race right out here and redo the job, wasn't he?
I called him twice. He was supposed to send a man, or his son, I think, to come over and look at it, but I've waited and nobody showed up. And I've called him at least a half a dozen times, and he hasn't responded to any of my calls.
In addition to the $340 for the plugs of grass, the Greens have paid around $200 to fertilize the lawn, as Gray prescribed, as well as buying sprinklers and hoses for watering. And still, no grass came up.
It's just dead.
Donna says she's been waiting 3 to 4 weeks for Gray to honor his guarantee, but nothing so far. She was hoping to have a lawn this year so the family could spend some time in the yard this summer. W.G. Gray's new lawn service does not list an address, so she couldn't go visit him in person. New Lawn is not listed anywhere in the phone book either. He just has an answering service. However, Donna was able to get an address from the Better Business Bureau, which I checked out. And this is it, the headquarters for W.G. Gray's new lawn service, advertising 35 years in experience. No one was in the office the first day I visited, but the next day I got W.G. Gray on the phone, and he agreed to meet me there to discuss the problem.
Well, who did she say contracted the job?
Well, she said you did, W.G. Gray. That's your signature there.
Yes.
And she'd been trying to get in touch with you, but hadn't been able to reach you. Your answering service hadn't been able to get a return call, so
Yes.
that's why she called us.
Well, I think Jimmy, my son, is one that contracted the job from me.
So what do you think you can do to satisfy the customer or live up to the guarantee?
Well, I'll get Jimmy together, my son. Now, he's the one that contracted the job from me. I happened to do it, and he got half the money. Well, we'll go up there tomorrow and work out something with it.
Okay, what time tomorrow do you think you might be able to get up
No,
there?
it'll probably be about 10 o'clock.
About 10 o'clock?
Yes.
10 a.m.
In Your Corner heard from Gladys Spurlock, who had called for help in getting the burned-out shell of a house next door to her torn down. The shambles had been like that since a fire in January. And with tornado season approaching, Gladys was worried that winds might knock the rest of the structure onto her home.
The biggest problem it is causing me right now is afraid that I'm going to have some more damage to my property, or maybe I'll be out here in the yard working and some of that blow over on me.
Gladys was also worried about children playing inside that house, but she couldn't get anyone to tell her when the house would be leveled. Well, I checked with the owner, who said fire department arson investigators wanted the house to remain as it was until they obtained the evidence they needed in an arson case. I checked with the fire marshal. He said it was okay to tear it down as long as investigators were present. Well, we informed the owner of that, and much to the delight of Gladys Spurlock, the eyesore has now been leveled and the area around it cleaned up, just in time for Oklahoma's windy tornado season. Following up another In Your Corner case, at long last we have some progress on the case of Spa Lady. You may recall that Spa Lady was a facility for ladies located in Cassidy Square Shopping Center that mysteriously closed one day, and the owner disappeared, leaving a large membership out in the cold. Many ladies had bought lifetime contracts. Others were paying on shorter contracts but were still receiving bills for payment because their contracts had been sold to a finance company in Utah. But they had no spa to attend here, and they were getting nothing for their money and no refunds. Well, In Your Corner contacted the Attorney General offices here and in Utah about the case several months ago. Well, we've now learned that those who became members of Spa Lady before December of 1980 can apply for a refund of 1/2 of their membership fee, or for membership in another local health spa for a small fee. And beginning next Monday, the Attorney General's office will begin investigating memberships in Spa Lady after December of 1980. In Your Corner will keep you posted on the status of those memberships. Paula Quinton says her full name is Paula Annette Johnson Quinton, but she doesn't understand how police got her confused with a suspect named Patricia Johnson. Paula says Oklahoma City police arrested her at her home one Sunday afternoon, took her to the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office, and somehow her name ended up on the warrant with the address, social security number, and description of Patricia Johnson, and Paula ended up in jail.
Yes, the Sunday that they took me in, I spent right at 4.5 hours in jail. They said $1,000 bond, and I had to pay $150 to get out. And it was in a maximum security cell with a little hole in the door where they slide your food in there. It's crazy.
Paula thought the identity mix-up would be straightened out at her arraignment, but she was told to get an attorney and was put back in jail. Well, by the time of her preliminary hearing, she had an attorney, and the mistaken identity was pointed out. The judge apologized, and she was dismissed. Now, Paula wants all record of the arrest erased or expunged in legal terminology. Chief Judge William Myers told me Paula could go through the district attorney's office to do so.
If she could show that she was not the right person, then a judge would order expunged.
In the meantime, In Your Corner began trying to find out what happened. How was Paula arrested by mistake? The charge was a bogus check charge from a Midwest City grocery store. Well, Midwest City police said they wanted Patricia Johnson, not Paula Quinton. Oklahoma City police who arrested Paula said the warrant did have Paula's name on it, but it came from the county. The county sheriff's office was also mystified, but all began asking questions and in a day or so discovered it was a clerical error. Shirley McAfee, felony division supervisor in the district attorney's office, explained.
It was a clerical error in that when we receive a charge, we do a person inquiry, first of all, before it's ever started. The terminal assigns a county ID number. The clerk that was doing the charge picked up the wrong county ID number, entered it on the charge, and it printed out the wrong name.
So when it printed out the wrong name, what happens from there? In other words, a warrant went out in that wrong name.
Right. A warrant is printed out in the clerk's office, and they take it down to the sheriff's office, and the sheriff's office does the arrest.
I see. So, and then I understood that error was discovered the same day, but somehow somebody forgot to issue a recall.
Yes, they did.
Okay. So, as far as getting it expunged from the record, that should be no problem.
No, it's already in the process. We'll have that county ID number deleted.
I see.
It will be done tonight.
Bernice Patterson has some houses and apartments she rents, but she hasn't been able to rent this one since it burned in 1979. She thought her problems were over when she hired the Joe Jones Construction Company in July of 1980 to repair the house. The contract specified the job was to be done in 120 days, and it cost over $20,000. Well, her canceled checks show Bernice paid $9,000 down and $3,500 when it was halfway done. Bernice says Joe Jones hired another contractor named Leonard Richmond to help with the job, but to this day, the house is not finished.
Well, he came over and they started on it. And they went, I just don't know how far, but they started on it and got it, you know, kind of where it looked like it was going. Then they kept laying off. And,
Well, he actually subcontracted it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that were supposed to be doing the work here then, right?
Yeah, they were the one he had hired to do the work. See, he would pay them. He was the contractor, and I would pay him, and he contract these people to do his work. He would pay them. They worked for him.
Yeah, I see.
See. So after they got so far and everything didn't come back, and I kept on after them, well, the man said Mr. Jones wouldn't buy the material for them to work with. And some days they didn't have anything to do on account of that. So he talked to Mr. Jones, and Mr. Jones said, well, we'll get together and you can just take it over and go on and finish it.
And that's what they did, although nothing was signed to release Joe Jones from his contract. Well, Bernice signed another contract with Jones's helper, Leonard Richmond and Son. That contract shows she paid them $6,000 down and $2,500 halfway through the job. It was to be done in 45 days. As a matter of fact, Bernice contracted Richmond to work on another property she had, a garage that burned this past winter. She paid him to start on that as well, and it was to be finished in 30 days. But Bernice said he never finished the house or the apartment.
He never told me that he wasn't going to do it. He always said, yes, I'm going to do it. Once he said he ran out of money, he had to work and make some more money so he'd come over here and buy the things for him.
So he actually said he's not going to do this?
Yes, that's right. He told me Sunday morning on Mother's Day. Made my day very sad. He said, well, when I was over there before, you didn't give me any money to go on and finish it with. I said, well, Mr. Richardson, you know I wasn't supposed to give you any more money. I said, you're not supposed to get any more money until the work is finished and you give me my key and I'm satisfied.
Well, with two unfinished jobs, Bernice is not satisfied, so I tried to find out what had happened. First, I went to the Joe Jones Construction Company to find out why he hadn't finished the job. Jones wasn't home, but later by phone he said he had health problems. However, he said he'd go back and help Richmond if Richmond would go back on Bernice's job. He said Bernice could sue him if she wanted because he had filed bankruptcy. Well, I checked with the bankruptcy court. They have no record of a Joe Jones filing bankruptcy. Next, I visited Leonard Richmond's listed address. He was not there, no one knew where he was, and he would not return my calls. But I found him working at another address and asked why he wouldn't finish Bernice's job after signing 2 contracts with her.
Well, I told the woman I wasn't going to fool with her. She accused me of stealing a refrigerator out of a house next door to her. She accused me of burning up a house.
Oh, I see.
And I'm not going to fool with her because she ain't been treating me right.
However, later, Leonard said he worked for Bernice twice after she accused him of stealing, and she denies accusing him. Leonard gave these other reasons for not finishing. He said Bernice wouldn't let his son work with him. She denies that. Richmond said Bernice asked for some things not on the contract, but wouldn't advance him any more money. Bernice says she didn't think there was any fuss over that. All he had to do was say no.
I'm not going back, regardless.